Hi, I'm Dunk and welcome to Military and Budget Watch Collectors. In this video we're going to discuss automatic watches. Automatic or self-winding watches have been around a long time. The very first pocket watch was developed as early as the very late 1700s, but it wasn't until 1923 that the very first automatic wristwatch was made by a watchmaker from Bolton called John Harwood. This featured a bumper winder which only rotated 180 degrees, and then it hit a surface or a spring and oscillated back to the start position, and it just oscillated at 180 degrees. In 1930 Rolex had tweaked the design and invented the 360 degree rotor, which is what we all know and love today. This invention of the 360 degree rotor really rocketed automatic's popularity, and because automatics are entirely mechanical, generally containing over 100 precisely made and assembled components and gears, automatic watches will always be the most valuable and most collected watches you can get. Now I'm going to be showing you what you should do when you first get your automatic watch and how to maintain it over its life. When you first get an auto and it's not running, it's going to need a good 30 winds or so to coil that mainspring and really kickstart into life. A lot of people just give their autos a few shakes, but the problem with that is that it's never going to be as efficient, and a few shakes is never going to coil the mainspring as well as manually winding it is. If we look at this skeletal auto I've got, on the skeletal auto you can see the mainspring. Focus, damn it. You can see it's barely coiled. If I give that a few shakes, see the balance wheel still isn't hardly. See, it's not enough. It's just not enough. The balance wheel isn't kick-starting. It'll barely give it enough power. But if you watch the mainspring whilst I wind it, you can already see it moving, look, coiling up. This is why shaking an automatic watch will never be as efficient as manually winding it. The shaking motion, or the oscillating motion of the rotor, is meant to more sustain the watch's power and increase it in small increments. Changing the date on an automatic watch can also be a troublesome thing, because automatic watches are entirely mechanical. There's date gears and whatnot going on inside there, and if we ignore the fact that this has got a 24-hour dial which says that it's at PM position, if you've got a brand new automatic watch and the hands were at this position and you attempted to change the date, you are highly likely to chip a date gear and render the watch useless, or you could break a date button. So the best thing to do to change the date on an automatic watch is to firstly always move it in a clockwise direction. Set the time to 6 o'clock, because no date gear engages at 6 o'clock. Sorry about the vibration, I've just got an email. 6, that'll do. No date gear will be engaged at this time, and you'll be perfectly safe to engage and change the gear, the date. Now if we see, everything's changing nicely, no buttons breaking, no damage, beautiful. The best thing to do with any automatic watch is to always set it the day before and then forward the time to the correct date so that you know you're in the AM. So you always know whether your watch is in the AM or the PM position. I always recommend giving an automatic watch just a couple of winds before bed as well, because the fact that your wrist isn't moving, it's draining the mainspring whilst you're asleep, and that could be for a good 8 hours. There's a very real possibility that you'll wake up to a dead watch. So I always tell people, just give it a few winds before you go to bed, and then when you wake up in the morning, because it'll have wound down during the night, give it a few more winds and you're good to go. But when you get one from new, I always recommend giving it at least a good 30 winds or so. Now the good thing about most automatic watches, not mechanical watches but automatic watches, is that there is a clutch inside it. And it's supposed to be impossible to overwind an automatic watch. If we all look at the spring on this one, let's see if we can zoom right in here. If we look at the main spring, if I coil that all the way, see how much that spring is moving compared to shaking it. Shaking will never increase its power as dramatically as winding. There's actually a clutch inside the mechanism, and once the spring hits full tautness, the clutch will engage, and you shouldn't be able to overwind an automatic watch. So just stick to these few tips. Give them a good wind before bed, one in the a good wind when you first get it, then a few winds before bed, a few winds in the morning. Make sure your hour and minute hands are at the 6 o'clock position before changing any dates, and you should keep your automatics in tip-top condition without chipping or damaging any gate gears or breaking any date adjustment buttons. This is Dunk from Military Budget Watch Collectors.